Hi, Dave Wilson here again. Now, it's very important when you're making silver to keep all your edges nice and square and straight, especially if you're soldering something. Now, this strange little gadget here is going to help you do just that. Perfect edges every time. So let's take a look at this little thing, see how it can help you. Follow me. Okay, so here we have the small steel Mitre block. A strange looking device, and the best way to explain what it does is to unscrew it and show you the inside. Once you see inside, you'll be able to understand what it does. So it comes in 3 sections and it operates like a small vise. So hopefully, if you can see in here, you've got some grooves in there, and on this piece there's a little bar there. Now that's quite important. I'll show you that in a moment, what that does. So that slots in, and then you'll notice that this other piece here is at 45 degrees and it's got grooves cut into it. So that pops in there, and then the little knurled screws on the end. Ooh, let's get our screw there. Also got 2 knurled screws here which tighten up into these little holes here. So this offers 2 functions. First of all, it works as a vise, so you can use it to help hold your pieces, and secondly, it helps you make sure that the edges are perfectly straight at either 90 degrees or 45 degrees. So first off, let's put some wire in and I'll show you what I mean. So using the appropriate hole there, so let's just pop that in, and we're just going to have it just slightly proud, so it's just slightly above the surface there. So all you've got to do is file that down until it's flush with the surface. Don't worry about scratching this because this is steel, so come back in a second. So once you've finished filing, you want to get it absolutely flat and flush with the surface, and then if we unscrew that, just take that out, you can see now that the surface of your silver there is perfectly flat, perfectly flush and 90 degrees. You know that both of those ends are perfectly flat. Likewise, if you want something to be 45 degrees, just pop it into one of the other holes there. Again, just leave it slightly proud of the top there, tighten it up, maybe push it in a little bit further. You only need it so it's just proud of the surface. Nice and tight, and then same again, just file away until it's flush. So there we go. Once it's flush with the surface, just unscrew and just pop it out, and you'll see this now is a perfect 45 degrees. So this is great if you want to make something like picture frames or something like that. You can put them together and that will make a perfect 90 degrees. Now you'll notice you've also got a little notch there and a little notch here. Now this one runs down perfectly at 90 degrees to this line, and that one runs down at 90 degrees to this line, but that's sloped inwards. So what you can use these for is perfectly aligning the edges of a piece of sheet. So when you put your metal in, it's very important that it goes up against that notch there and you push it down firmly. So that means that it's perfectly at 90 degrees. Push it in and then tighten it up. And if you can see now, it's up against that bar there, and that is perfectly at 90 degrees. So all I do now is file away at the top there, and that will be perfectly flush. So here we can see now this is perfectly flush. So if we just unscrew that and pull that out, you'll see that that edge now is perfectly flat, 90 degrees. So if you wanted to make it into a ring, for example, if you did that with two pieces, you would know that when you bend it round, both the edges are going to line up perfectly flush. Okay, here, so if you pop that into your 45 degrees there, make sure that it's pushed up against the stop there, and just clamp that up, and you see when I file that there, it's going to file a beautiful 45 degree bevel on the edge there. So here we go, I've finished filing that now, and as long as you keep it up against that stop, it's going to be perfectly 90 degrees across and perfectly 45 degrees that way. So if I just undo that now, and you can see it's a beautiful, almost like a chisel really, isn't it? And if I get another piece here, hopefully you can see there, that's going to give you a perfect 90 degrees. Like I say, don't start shouting at the TV screen. I know that's not how you make a box, but for whatever reason, if you need a 45 degree bevel on a piece of sheet, this little gadget is going to do it. Now, if you want to just flatten off the ends of silver wire, you do have a very small groove there, so you could put your wire in the little groove there and tighten it up, same as before. You've also got a slight lip just down each end there, and that'll help you to align it if you want to sit it vertically in a vise. So you can put it in a vise and then use it vertically again to file. Now you may be wondering what these two holes are for at the bottom. There's two holes there, and these thumb screws at either side screw into them. Well, these can be used to hold a depth stop. Now a depth stop is just a piece of wire held in the end that acts as a depth gauge for your metal. So how do we make a depth stop? Nice and simple. All you need is a piece of thick wire. I've got a piece of copper electrical wire here, and make sure it's nice and straight and as thick as you can get it. Make sure it goes into the hole, and all you need to do is bend it at 90 degrees at the tip. Now if you've got one handy, a great little device for this is a small Allen key. As long as it will fit through the little screw holes, it'll be great. It's perfectly straight, it's perfectly tough, and it won't bend. So all you do is pop your wire into one of the little holes at the back there and just tighten it up with your thumb, and that's all there is to it. You've now got yourself a depth gauge. So let's say I wanted several pieces of silver, all say 1 inch long, perfectly straight, perfectly square, and all the same length. So I will mark it off at 1 inch or whatever length I need it. I will pop that into the Mitre vise, making sure that the mark is just up to the surface of it. I would then adjust the depth gauge at the back there so it just touches the end of my silver, and I can then tighten up the little thumb screw to keep the depth gauge in place. Once I've done that, cut it off, file it smooth, and I can continue to just keep inserting strips of silver, and they will all be the exact same length. If you want a longer depth gauge, nice and simple, just get yourself a longer piece of wire. Simple as that. Just a little piece of advice here, might seem obvious, but obviously use a flat file. Okay, you can use a flat, triangular, you can use a safety back file, you could even use a ring file as long as you use the flat surface. Okay, then that way when you put it onto your block, you want to file until it's perfectly flush. Don't have it as an handle, keep it perfectly flush, and once the surface of your silver is flush with the surface of the block, you can take it out and it's going to be at the perfect handle for you. So there you go, a really useful little tool, the Mitre block. You'll wonder how you ever lived without it. I've been Dave Wilson. Thanks for watching.